Hip hop has always been more than just music. It's been a battleground, a courtroom, a place where reputations are built and careers are ended. Not with lawsuits or boardroom decisions, but with words, bars, and diss tracks. Hip hop beef is its own culture within the culture, and the beefs on this list aren't just drama, they're history. They shape the music you listen to today. They ended friendships that started in poverty. They revealed industry secrets nobody was supposed to know. They produced some of the greatest records ever made, and in some cases, they even turned deadly. This is every major music beef in hip-hop history. Explained. Kool Moe Dee versus Busy Bee. Before there were diss tracks, before there were albums dropping at midnight, before social media wars and Grammy sweeps and lawyers getting involved, there was a stage, a microphone, and two men in the same room, settling it live in front of everybody. 1981, Harlem World Club, New York City. Busy Bee had earned a reputation as a party rapper who knew how to work a crowd. He came on stage and did his usual routine, rocking the audience and getting everyone hyped, and threw some shade at Kool Moe Dee and others, saying he could not be defeated. Wrong room, wrong night, and wrong man to say that to. Kool Moe Dee, a member of Treacherous 3, took the stage after Busy Bee and let loose one of the most lethal diss verses ever delivered in hip-hop history. He didn't just out-rap Busy Bee, he dissected him line by line. He attacked his style, his authenticity, his rhymes. Moe Dee pointed out that Busy Bee always had the same rhymes and he had bought rhymes from MC Spoonie G without paying for them. It was surgical, personal, and completely unscripted. This landmark battle is remembered as one of the first where such tactics were employed. Highly personalized attacks delivered with razor-sharp wit and rapid-fire delivery. This was the moment hip-hop realized that a microphone can be a weapon, that words can end a career, that showing up and going bar for bar was the ultimate test of who you really were as an MC. Every diss track that came after, every beef on this list, every moment where one rapper stepped to another and said, "I think I'm better than you," it traces back to this night. Harlem World, 1981, Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee, the first shot ever fired in hip-hop beef history. KRS-One and MC Shan. Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee established that an MC could go to war on stage, but what KRS-One and MC Shan did 5 years later took that concept and exploded it onto a record, onto radio, into the streets and into history, because this wasn't just a battle between two rappers anymore. This was a battle over the soul of culture itself. Where was hip-hop born? That question started a war. 1986, New York City. MC Shan, a rapper from Queensbridge housing projects in Queens, dropped a track called The Bridge, produced by Marley Marr. The song was a celebration of Queensbridge and its rap scene. MC Shan has maintained to this day that he never intended the song to claim hip-hop started in Queensbridge. He was just merely celebrating his neighborhood. But in hip-hop, perception is reality, and the perception in the South Bronx was that Queens was trying to claim the birthplace of culture that the Bronx had built from nothing. KRS-One heard that record and took it as a direct attack on everything he stood for. But here's the layer that almost nobody knows, and this detail changes everything. Before the Bridge Wars started, KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions had submitted a demo tape to Mr. Magic, the DJ who hosted New York's only hip-hop radio show at the time and who was closely affiliated with MC Shan's Juice Crew. Magic dismissed the tape immediately. He went on air and told his listeners their record was whack, and KRS-One was sitting in a homeless shelter on the edge of his bed when he heard Magic dismiss his music on the radio. Hearing his music get dismissed on the most powerful hip-hop radio show in New York, and that was the moment South Bronx was born. KRS-One went back to his shelter and wrote South Bronx right there. They recorded it and handed it to DJ Red Alert, Mr. Magic's rival, who started playing it immediately. The borough battle was real, but the personal rejection was the fuel. South Bronx dropped in 1986. KRS-One named the actual address 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, where DJ Kool Herc threw the first hip-hop block party on August 11, 1973. That address is now recognized as the official birthplace of hip-hop. MC Shan responded with "Kill that noise," and then KRS-One ended it. The bridge is over. 1987. The reggae-influenced beat was infectious, the lyrics were surgical, and it was so complete in its dismantling of MC Shan that it proved impossible to respond to. One record, career over. But here's what made the Bridge Wars truly historic beyond who won and who lost. This was the first time a rap beef played out entirely on record, on radio, in public, for the whole culture to witness and judge. Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee battled on stage in front of one room. KRS-One and MC Shan battled the records that played across the entire city. That difference, taking the battle from the stage to the streets through music, is what changed everything. And then tragedy struck. Scott LaRock, KRS-One's DJ and closest friend, was shot and killed in August 1987 while trying to break up a fight in the Bronx. And in that moment that tells you everything about the code that existed in hip-hop at that time, the Juice Crew stopped releasing diss records out of respect for Scott LaRock's death. Even in the middle of a war, both sides pause for a fallen soldier. That's the culture. That's the difference between beef and hatred. KRS-One redirected his entire career after losing Scott LaRock. He started the Stop Violence movement. He pivoted to social conscious music, and the beef slowly faded. Not with a handshake, but with the culture simply moving on and acknowledging what everyone knew. The Bronx built hip-hop. KRS-One proved it, and in 2007, KRS-One and Marley Marl officially retired the feud with a collaborative album called Hip Hop Lives. 2 decades later, peace. But MC Shan's career never fully recovered, and the format KRS-One created, the diss record, the radio response, the public verdict, became the blueprint that every rapper after him followed. Jay-Z used it, Nas used it, Kendrick Lamar used it. Every beef on this list that comes after this one owes something to what happened in the South Bronx in 1986. KRS-One didn't just win the beef, he wrote the rulebook. Jay-Z and Nas. We're starting with one of the most hip-hop historians consider the greatest lyrical battle of all time, Jay-Z versus Nas. And what makes this beef so significant is who these two men when it started. By the early 2000s, Jay-Z and Nas were one of the 2 greatest rappers alive. Not up-and-comers, not newcomers trying to make a name. These were 2 established, undeniable legends at their absolute peak of their powers, going directly at each other. The beef has been simmering since late 1990s with subtle shots of various records. But it exploded in 2001 when Jay-Z performed a freestyle at Summer Jam, one of the biggest hip-hop concerts in New York, and debuted a diss track called Takeover. Takeover didn't just criticize Nas's music, it attacked his authenticity, his legacy, his credibility as a street figure. It accused him of having only 2 classic albums in his discography. It was surgical, precise, and devastating. Nas took his time responding, and when he did, he delivered Ether. Released in January 2002, Ether is widely considered the greatest diss track in hip-hop history. The word ether has literally entered the hip-hop dictionary. To ether someone means to completely and utterly destroy them in a rap battle. That's how dominant this record was. Nas went line by line. He attacked Jay-Z's appearance, his relationships, his business dealings, and he did it with precision and venom that made the entire hip-hop world stop. Jay-Z responded with Super Ugly, a track so personal and graphic that Jay-Z's own mother called him and told him to apologize. He publicly apologized for it the next day. The beef eventually ended and the 2 men reconciled. They're now on good terms, but what they created in the moment, those records, those still stand as measuring sticks for every rap battle that came after. I'm a little indecisive on this one, so let me know in the comments what you think and who won. Drake and Kendrick Lamar. If Jay-Z versus Nas is the greatest beef in hip-hop history, Drake versus Kendrick Lamar is the most important beef in modern era. And what makes this one extraordinary is that it didn't start in 2024 when the world was watching. It started in 2011 when they were friends. Drake and Kendrick actually started as collaborators in support of each other. Kendrick appeared on Drake's 2011 album Take Care for the Buried Alive interlude. Drake had Kendrick open for his 2012 Club Paradise tour. Kendrick featured Drake on Poetic Justice off of Good Kid, Mad City. These were not enemies. These were 2 young rappers helping each other come up. So what changed? 2013. Kendrick appeared on Big Sean's song Control and called out Drake and several other rappers directly. Most artists took it as competitive jabs and moved on. Drake took it personally. Drake said in a Hot 97 interview, "It just wasn't real to me. I saw him after that and it was just like love. So it's like, was that real or was that for the people?" Those were harsh words. You can't just say that and then see me like, "Yeah, man, what's up?" pretending like nothing ever happened. That interview is where the Cold War officially began. For the next decade, both artists took subtle shots at each other through music. Kendrick took shots at ghostwriting, widely interpreted as a reference to long-standing allegations against Drake. Drake responded indirectly on other people's records. Neither one ever said each other's name directly. This was a Cold War that had been running for more than a decade. Fast forward to 2023, Drake and J. Cole dropped First Person Shooter, a song where Cole referred to himself, Drake, and Kendrick as the Big Three of rap. Kendrick heard that, and he did not agree. March 22nd, 2024, Future and Metro Boomin dropped their joint album. Kendrick appears on that album on a track called Like That. And he ends the Big Three conversation immediately. The Cold War was over, the Hot War had begun now. What followed over the next 2 months was the most intense exchange in modern hip-hop history. Both artists dropped multiple diss tracks in rapid succession. Drake dropped Push-Ups, Kendrick responded with Euphoria. 6 minutes of surgical destruction, by the way. Drake dropped tailor-made freestyle using AI-generated voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg, and had it removed after Tupac's estate threatened legal action. Kendrick dropped 616 in LA. Drake dropped Family Matters, and then less than an hour after Family Matters dropped, Kendrick released Meet the Grams, a letter addressed directly to Drake's family. And then came Not Like Us. Not Like Us wasn't just a diss track, it became an anthem that people who don't even follow rap were singing at parties, barbecues, and sporting events. After defeating Canada in the 2024 Copa America semifinals, the Argentine national football team posted a celebration photo with Not Like Us written across it, a jab at Drake for betting $300,000 on a Canadian team. The song accused Drake of being a culture vulture, of being inauthentic, of inappropriate behavior that Drake profusely denied. Drake's response was to file lawsuits against Universal Music Group for allowing the song's release, and that decision to respond to a diss track with lawyers instead of bars was the moment hip-hop rendered its verdict. You don't sue your way out of rap beef. Not Like Us went on to sweep the 2025 Grammy Awards, winning Record of the Year, Best Music Video, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, and Song of the Year. And Kendrick performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, the biggest stage in American entertainment. Drake's legacy in hip-hop has never quite been the same since. And the beef that started with a Hot 97 interview in 2013 ended with one man holding 5 Grammys and the other holding a lawsuit. Pusha T and Drake. We just covered Drake losing to Kendrick Lamar, but here's what it's important to understand. This wasn't the first time Drake lost a rap, and some would even argue it wasn't even his first loss, because before Drake, there was Pusha T. And what Pusha T did to Drake in 2018 was so devastating that the wounds from it were still there and still visible 6 years later when Kendrick finished the job. To understand this beef, you have to understand the history. Before we get into what happened to 2018, we need to go back to 2006, because this beef didn't start between Pusha T and Drake. It started between Pusha T and Lil Wayne, and Drake got pulled into it by loyalty. Pusha T's dispute with Young Money began in 2006 with clips the group Pusha T was in with his brother took a subliminal shot at Lil Wayne for wearing a Bape hoodie on the cover of Vibe magazine. It sounds petty, and it was. Wayne fired back, and the two camps, Clips and Young Money, developed a mutual hostility that simmered for years. Then Drake came along. Drake was Lil Wayne's protege and his signee. When you're at war with Wayne, you're at war with Drake by extension. In 2011, Pusha sampled Drake's song, Dreams Money Can Buy, on a freestyle called Don't F With Me, taking shots at Drake's credibility and street authenticity. Drake fired back, defending his mentor on Tuscan Leather in 2013. In 2012, Pusha dropped Exodus 23:1, directly mocking Drake's complicated contract situation with Cash Money, which resulted in Wayne firing back on Twitter. The camps were full at war, but here's what makes this beef uniquely layered. The one consistent thread running through every single shot Pusha T took at Drake across 7 years wasn't about Cash Money drama. It was about one specific accusation, that Drake doesn't write his own raps. In 2016, Pusha dropped HGTV, freestyle accusing Drake of using ghostwriters. Then in 2017, Drake responded on More Life, questioning Pusha T's authenticity as a drug dealer, essentially saying Pusha was rapping about a life he never actually lived. Two men accusing each other of being frauds. That's the foundation. And then 2018 arrived. Pusha reignited things on the closing track of his album Daytona, a song called Infrared, where he rapped. It was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin. A direct reference to Quentin Miller, a rapper Meek Mill had previously accused for ghostwriting for Drake. And you know Drake couldn't let that go. He dropped Duppy Freestyle within 24 hours. He went after Pusha's career. He went after Kanye West for producing Pusha's album. He even revealed that Drake had written songs for Kanye, essentially accusing his own supposed ally of benefiting from the very thing Pusha was accusing Drake of. And then he posted a literal invoice on Instagram for $100,000 addressed to Pusha's label for, quote, promotional assistance in career reviving. As a result, Pusha T took 5 days. And when he came back with the story of Adidon. Everything changed in those 5 days. Pusha revealed that Drake had a secret son, a child named Adonis, whose existence Drake had not publicly acknowledged yet. He revealed his child's mother. He accused Drake of planning to reveal the child as a part of an Adidas sponsorship campaign. He used a photo of Drake in blackface as the cover artwork. And then he went after Drake's producer, Noah 40 Shabib's battle with multiple sclerosis, a line that shocked even Pusha's own supporters. Drake confirmed Adonis existed and claimed he had been planning on revealing it on his own terms, but the damage was already done. Drake later admitted in a Rap Radar interview that the beef with Pusha T was his first loss in competitive sport of rapping. His words, not ours. And 6 years later, when Kendrick Lamar went to war with Drake, he had Pusha T's blueprint to work from. The secret son had already been exposed. The ghostwriting accusations had already been documented. Pusha T had already done the reconnaissance. Kendrick just finished the job. Lil Wayne and Birdman. This beef is different because it wasn't about rap. It was about betrayal, about money, about a young man who gave everything to a father figure who he believed had his back, and then found out the hard way that the music industry doesn't care about loyalty. It only cares about ownership. To understand this beef, you have to understand where Lil Wayne came from. Wayne was discovered by Birdman, the CEO of Cash Money Records, when Wayne was only 8 years old. Birdman took him in and signed him to Cash Money at 11 years old. He gave him a home, a career, a family, Wayne called Birdman his father, publicly, repeatedly, for years. He got Birdman's name tattooed on his body. This wasn't just a business relationship. This was a father and son bond built over decades in the music industry. So when it fell apart, it didn't just fall apart like a business deal gone wrong. It fell apart like family. It was ugly. The issue started when Wayne tried to release his long-awaited album, The Carter 5. Cash Money blocked it. Birdman refused to release it. And Wayne started to understand what he had never fully examined during all those years of loyalty, that Cash Money owned him. His name, his music, his masters, his future. Everything he had built belonged to Birdman. In 2014, Wayne filed a $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money Records and Birdman, alleging that Cash Money had failed to pay him his royalties and was intentionally blocking the release of the Carter 5 to maintain control over him. And here's the detail that made the whole industry pay attention. Wayne didn't just sue, he spoke. In a series of interviews, Wayne opened up about the relationship in ways that shocked everyone who had watched them for years together. He said Birdman was not his father. He said the love wasn't real. He said he had been financially exploited for decades while believing he was family. And on the Sorry for the Wait 2 mixtape, a mixtape Wayne dropped while the legal battle was ongoing, he rapped directly about betrayal, the money, about what Birdman had done to him. Birdman responded by showing up to a Wayne concert and getting booed off a stage by Wayne's own fans. The crowd didn't want reconciliation. They wanted accountability. The legal battle dragged on for years. It finally settled out of court in 2018, the same year Drake got destroyed by Pusha T, with Wayne regaining control of his masters and the release of the Carter 5. The Carter 5 debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. It sold over 480,000 album equivalent units in the first week. It was everything Wayne had been trying to release for years, and Birdman, the man who blocked it, got none of the victory lap. The lesson of this beef is not about rap skills or diss tracks or who had the better bars. The lesson is about ownership, about contracts, about what happens when you trust someone with your entire career and your entire livelihood, and that trust turns out to be conditional. Wayne's situation became a blueprint for every conversation about artist ownership that came after it. When Kanye West stood outside Universal Music Group's headquarters demanding his masters back, he was fighting the same battle Wayne fought with Birdman, and Jay-Z before him, and countless artists before that. Wayne was one of the first to fight it publicly and loudly in a way the whole industry had to watch, and at a cost that almost destroyed him. 50 Cent versus Ja Rule. Every beef on this list has real stakes: careers, money, legacy, lives. This one has all of that too, but it's also something that none of the others have. It's genuinely funny, not because the beef wasn't real, it was very much real, but because 50 Cent approached destroying Ja Rule the way a chess grandmaster approaches a game, with patience, precision, humor, and absolute zero mercy. And the result of one of these was the most complete and total destructions of a career in music history. To go back to this beef or to understand it, you have to go back to the late 1990s in Queens, New York. 50 Cent and Ja Rule actually knew each other before they were famous. They ran in overlapping circles in the same neighborhoods. And somewhere in the world, before either of them have a record deal, a robbery happened. Now, according to 50 Cent, Ja Rule and his associates robbed him of his chain in the late 1990s. Ja Rule has always denied this, but 50 Cent never forgot it, and I mean never forgot it. And when both men made it to the major leagues of the music industry, 50 Cent made it his personal mission to make Ja Rule pay for it. By 2002, both artists were at the peak of their powers. Ja Rule was one of the biggest names in hip-hop history, known for melodic hooks, R&B crossover appeal, and a string of massive hits. He had Ashanti, he had Jennifer Lopez, he had chart dominance. Then 50 Cent arrived, and 50 didn't just compete with Ja Rule. He made destroying Ja Rule a core part of his brand. Every mixtape, every interview, every record, 50 Cent relentlessly mocked Ja Rule's voice, his image, his singing. He accused Ja Rule of copying DMX's style. He made fun of his name. He made fun of his fans. He was relentless in a way that almost felt pathological, and the internet loved every second of it. But here's where it gets legendary. 50 Cent brought 200 front row tickets to a Ja Rule concert just to leave them empty, so the venue would look deserted and the images were spread online. He didn't send people, he just bought the tickets and left the seats empty. That's not a rap beef move, that's a psychological warfare move. The beef escalated when Murder Inc., Ja Rule's label, became the subject of a federal investigation into money laundering connected to drug trafficking. The FBI investigated Murder Inc. and found its founder, Irv Gotti, for allegedly laundering drug money into the label. The investigation decimated the label's momentum. Irv Gotti and his brother were eventually acquitted, but the damage to Murder Inc.'s reputation and finances was irreversible. 50 Cent, who had been publicly aligned with law enforcement in ways that made him deeply controversial in hip-hop circles, used the investigation to further discredit Ja Rule and Murder Inc. at every opportunity. By 2004, the contrast was undeniable. 50 Cent's debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying, sold 12 million copies. Ja Rule's career was in freefall. The hits stopped coming, the radio stopped playing most of him, the career or culture has somewhat moved on. And 50 Cent, to his credit or discredit, depending on how you look at it, never let up. And here's the thing about this beef that makes it unlike anything else on this list. It never really ended. While every other beef we covered tonight eventually reached some sort of conclusion, a reconciliation, a legal statement, even a Grammy sweep, this one just kept going and going and going. Ja Rule fired off on X, calling 50 Cent a cancer to the culture as a result of 50 Cent's clowning Ja Rule on his interview with The Breakfast Club following Irv Gotti's passing. Then in late 2025, 50 Cent executive produced a Netflix documentary about Diddy called Sean Combs, The Reckoning. Ja Rule accused 50 Cent of being a snitch for making a documentary, and back and forth started all over again. As of early 2026, Ja Rule has publicly promised to never end his feud with 50 Cent. 26 years later, a stolen chain, a destroyed label, and still going. In a November 2025 interview, Ja Rule claimed his catalog has aged better than 50 Cent, saying he felt he's the better rapper and made better records. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's In the Club generates nearly 900,000 daily streams on Spotify compared to Ja Rule's biggest hit, Always on Time, which pulls in around 226,000. Lil Kim versus Nicki Minaj. Before we talk about Cardi B, we need to talk about the beef that set the template for every female rap conflict that came after it. Because before Nicki Minaj was the queen of hip-hop, there was another queen, and that queen felt like her throne was stolen. Lil Kim. If you want to understand hip-hop in the late 1990s and early 2000s, you have to understand what Lil Kim meant to the culture. She was groundbreaking, unapologetically sexual, lyrically ferocious, commercially dominant. She was the first female rapper to truly own her sexuality as a weapon and a brand, and in the industry has never seen anything like her before. She was part of Junior Mafia, she was Biggie's protege, she was the blueprint, and then Nicki Minaj arrived. And from the very beginning, the comparisons were inevitable. Same aesthetic in some ways, same willingness to be bold and provocative, same command of the mic. And Lil Kim, who had spent years building that lane almost entirely alone, felt like Nicki Minaj hadn't just been inspired by her. She felt like Nicki had taken from her without giving her credit. The beef between Lil Kim and Nicki Minaj dates back to around 2007 when Nicki was still an unsigned rapper in New York, and the people in the industry started comparing the two women. Lil Kim was not flattered by the comparisons. She saw a younger woman building a career on an aesthetic she had pioneered and getting credit for originally that she felt belongs to her. The shots started subtly, industry whispers, loaded comments in the interviews, and then they became direct. In 2010, Lil Kim dropped Black Friday, a full diss track aimed directly at Nicki Minaj, timed to counter Nicki's debut album, Pink Friday. The title was deliberate, Black Friday versus Pink Friday. Kim went after Nicki's authenticity, her look, her come-up, her relationship with her mentor Lil Wayne, drawing uncomfortable parallels to Kim's own relationship with Biggie. She accused Nicki of copying her style, her image, her entire aesthetic, and building a career on it without acknowledgement. Nicki's response was largely indirect. She rarely addressed Kim by name publicly, which itself became a point of contention. In hip-hop, refusing to say someone's name directly can be read as two ways. Either you're too big to acknowledge them, or you're avoiding the confrontation. Kim's supporters saw it as avoidance. Nicki's supporters saw it as unbothered confidence. The beef reached a new level in 2014 when Lil Kim dropped a diss track called Identity Theft, accusing Nicki of stealing her entire identity and career blueprint. The title says everything. This isn't about rap skills anymore. This was about legacy, about who gets credit for creating a lane, about what happens when women who built the road doesn't get acknowledged by the women driving on it. And here's the layer that makes this beef genuinely complicated. Both women have legitimate points. Lil Kim pioneered an aesthetic that Nicki undeniably built on. That's not really disputed. The question is whether inspiration becomes death, whether influence requires explicit acknowledgement, whether you owe that person who came before you a public debt. Hip-hop has never fully answered that question, and the Lil Kim and Nicki Minaj beef has never fully resolved either. As of recently, Nicki's former manager, Deb Atney, went on a podcast and revealed she secretly reached out to Lil Kim to try and squash the beef without telling Nicki first. When Nicki found out, she blasted Deb on X, making it clear that she never authorized any peace negotiations. Lil Kim made it clear in a Power 105 interview that the two will never make amends. Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. We just talked about Lil Kim feeling like her throne was taken without credit. Now we're going to talk about the woman who took that throne, finding herself in almost the exact same position a decade later. Because what happened to Nicki Minaj with Cardi B is almost a mirror image of what happened to Lil Kim with Nicki. And if that parallel doesn't make you think about cycles in the music industry, I don't know what else to tell you. By 2017, Nicki Minaj had been the undisputed queen of hip-hop for nearly a decade. No female rapper had come close to her commercial dominance, her critical acclaim, her cultural footprint. The throne was hers, and everyone knew it. And then Bodak Yellow dropped. Cardi B was not what the industry expected. She didn't come up through the traditional rap pop line. She came from the Bronx, from social media, from Love and Hip Hop, a reality show that the music industry establishment didn't take seriously at first. She was loud, she was unfiltered, but she was real in a way that connected with people immediately. In Bodak Yellow, her debut single went from #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Cardi B the first female rapper to reach #1 with a solo track since Lauryn Hill in 1998, nearly 20 years on her first major label single. The industry couldn't ignore it, and Nicki, who spent years being the only woman at the top, suddenly had company. The tension built slowly at first. In 2018, Nicki made comments on her Queen radio show suggesting that Cardi B's album, Invasion of Privacy, had been pushed by the label and questioning whether her success was organic. Cardi B took that personally, very personally, because everything Cardi came up with was organic. The reality show fan base, the street credibility, nobody handed anything to her. And then September 7, 2018 arrived, New York Fashion Week, a Harper's Bazaar party, one of the most glamorous events on the fashion calendar. Cardi B walked in, Nicki Minaj was there, and whatever was said between them, or about Cardi's daughter, Culture, who had just been born months earlier, crossed a line that Cardi could not let go. Cardi B threw a shoe at Nicki Minaj in the middle of Harper's Bazaar party. Security intervened, Cardi left with a visible bump on her forehead. At New York Fashion Week, in front of the entire fashion industry. The shoe heard around the world, some may say. What followed on social media was extraordinary. Both women posted their versions of events. Both women's fan bases, the Barbs for Nicki and Cardi's loyal following, went to absolute war online. Every interview became a minefield. Every red carpet became a potential flashpoint. Industry figures were forced to choose sides publicly. And the music kept coming from both women simultaneously, which was itself historical. Two dominant female rappers, both at the top. At the same time, the industry always said there was only room for one. They were both proving it wrong in real time, even while fighting each other. Invasion of Privacy won the Grammy for Best Rap Album, the first solo female rapper to ever win that award in the history of Grammy Awards. Ever. And the beef never stopped. In 2024, the beef reignited when Nicki Minaj accused Cardi B of working with her enemies and taking sides in Nicki's ongoing conflict with Meg Thee Stallion. Cardi fires back with social media with receipts. The Barbs mobilized, Cardi supporters mobilized, and the whole cycle started again. As of 2026, there has been no reconciliation, no peace talks, no collaborations, just two of the most successful female rappers in history who cannot be in the same conversation without turning it into a war. Diddy and 50 Cent. And this one's a bonus. We said 9 beefs, but we have to talk about this one because this isn't just a rap beef. This is a beef that in hindsight changed everything. 50 Cent versus Diddy. And the reason this one is different from everyone else is simple. Most beefs on this list are about who's the better rapper, who has the better bars, who wins the lyrical exchange. This one was never about rap. This one was about one man spending nearly 2 decades pointing at another man and saying something is not right with him, and the whole industry telling him to sit down. Let's go back to the beginning. The tension between 50 Cent and Diddy goes back to the early 2000s. 50 Cent and Diddy had an altercation at a New York radio station in 2009 that nearly turned physical, but the beef went deeper than just one confrontation. 50 Cent spent years on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, basically everywhere posting about Diddy, mocking him, questioning him, making jokes about the industry largely dismissed as petty, as clout chasing, as 50 being 50, because that's what people said. 50 Cent just likes drama. He goes after everyone. Don't take it seriously. Except 50 Cent was specific, consistently specific, in a way that in hindsight reads less like trolling and more like someone who genuinely knows something was wrong and couldn't prove it yet. 50 Cent was one of the first people to publicly raise questions about Diddy's behavior and the culture around his parties in his inner circle, years before any formal allegations became public. The industry didn't want to hear it. Diddy was too powerful, too connected, too embedded in the fabric of hip-hop and mainstream culture for anyone to take those accusations seriously. Bad Boy Records, making the band, the parties, the lifestyle. Diddy had built an empire and 50 Cent was just noise. And then everything changed. In March 2024, a video surfaced of Diddy physically assaulting his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hotel hallway in 2016. The video had been obtained by CNN, and its release sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. What followed was a cascade, lawsuits, federal investigations, arrests, and so on and so forth. Sean Combs was arrested in September 2024 and charged with racketeering conspiracy, sexual trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And 50 Cent's response to all of it was not "I told you so." It was quieter than that, and somehow more powerful. He had already been saying it for years. He didn't need to say it again. 50 Cent then went on to executive produce a documentary about Diddy for Netflix, further cementing his role as the person who had been sounding the alarm the longest and loudest. And that is a wrap, folks, on today's Deep Cut. Every story you just heard, documented, verified, and real. Remember, this is what we do here. We go past the surface and past the headlines and past what they wanted you to know and find what's actually there. If this video gave you something, if it gave you something to talk about, to think about, and made you want to send it to somebody who needs to see it, hit that subscribe button because we drop a new Deep Cut video every Sunday. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Drop a comment and let us know which story hit you the hardest, which one are you still thinking about. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Deep Cut Stories, where the truth runs deeper than the headlines. And remember, every story has a deeper cut. We'll see you on Sunday.